All right, guys, what is going on? I'm doing another live stream on Sunday. I probably won't do the 12-hour marathon like I did before, but I thought I'd just do a quick little live stream, maybe for an hour, maybe a couple hours. Just thought I'd kind of throw it in there. So what is going on? I'm actually going to come over here on my channel and see if I can pull it up so I can actually see the comments over here on my channel. All right. It looks like we're live. All right. Oh, I got to turn my volume down. All right. Technical difficulties. All right. So let's see. Live chat. All right. We already got some comments. All right. What is going on, guys? All right. Cool. First sub before 2021 sub. All right. All right. Cool. What is going on? Oh, check this out. Actually, someone I actually saw one comment pop up and disappear, and it said it was actually deleted by the Google moderator team. I actually have some Google moderators. Actually, where is Bobby? Yeah, let me grab Bobby. I was just trying to do the technical issues here, but I can definitely grab Bobby. He is right over here. Yes, I'm here in my snake room. And I have Bobby. Take a look at this big old guy right here. Bobby just went through a fresh shed, doing really good. He is doing great. All right, a whole bunch of comments. I'm going to try to slow down through the comments this time and try to hit every single comment as we go. It's kind of interesting. All right, let's see. Dang, I was trying to be first. A lot of people. That's already, man. 2 minutes. We have 44 people. That is crazy. Let's see. Hope everything is better. Yes. I do have Bobby. Did I ever make the money? So that's interesting. I was actually doing the live stream marathon to pay for the Harley Davidson. And I got about 3 days into it. I was doing like 12-hour streams, and after 3 days, I actually lost my voice and completely had to stop and had to take like a week off because I lost my voice. So I was thinking, maybe today I'll just do a short little live stream. But I actually bought the Harley Davidson. I actually sold a bunch of hatchlings and came up with the money. So that was pretty cool. Still haven't got the bike yet. They're actually shipping it to me. Wow, I have a whole bunch of comments here. I don't know if I can keep up with the comments. That is a lot of comments. All right. Hi from Berkshire, UK. All right. What kind of ball python is Bobby? So this is Bobby. He's just a straight bamboo ball python. No other genes in the mix. All right. Let's see. Need help? Is carpet python egg laying the same? Hey, I got a super chat. Thank you. LKB Pythons. Awesome. So my super chat today goes for paying the registration and the tags for my Harley. I actually bought it. And kind of the funny thing about that Harley Davidson is the weird thing is I was doing the live stream, and then I figured I'm not going to make it with the live stream. So I sold a bunch of hatchlings, and then I came up with the money for the Harley Davidson. So I sent him a check to buy the Harley Davidson. And after 8 days, the check still didn't get to the dealer for that bike. So I actually had to do a wire transfer to actually pay for the bike. And then it was kind of frustrating because after I did the wire transfer, then they're like, oh yeah, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for us to actually ship that bike to you. So it's going to be like another month before I actually get the bike, which is kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Are carpet python egg laying the same as ball python? I have no idea about carpet pythons. I'm just kind of strictly a ball python guy. Where do you see the ball python market in 5 years? Good question. I think it's going to be, as a matter of fact, it seems like lately a lot more people are getting into the ball python market. It actually seems like a lot of prices are increasing. I think the ball python market is going to do a lot better because a lot of people are losing their jobs and actually looking for other sources of income, which, increases the demand, which really raises the prices. So I think it's actually going to improve over the next few years. All right, let's see. Female Lester het clown. What would be a great pairing? If it's a het clown, I would definitely go with something, either another het clown or a visual clown. What does snake pee smell like? It smells, it's kind of interesting. I actually went to a paper substrate for a while, my entire collection, and you can actually, if you have a paper substrate and you walk in the door, you actually can smell snake pee in the entire room. It's pretty bad. You actually go to a coconut husk substrate and it absorbs all the smells 100%. I can walk in here and it doesn't smell like snake pee at all. Let me tell you, it kind of smells like dog pee, I guess. It's pretty strong if you actually are on paper substrate. What is my dream snake? I was actually thinking, if I had an unlimited budget, what would I actually get as far as a dream snake? And probably what I would get is I'd probably get into the monsoon project and get a pair of monsoons. Of course, it would probably cost me, $20,000 to $30,000 for a pair of monsoons, which is kind of crazy. All right, ever thought about working with venomous snakes? No venomous. I actually thought about maybe doing like catching problem snakes. There's a lot of people that remove snakes from other places, but here in Colorado, you'd probably be removing a lot of rattlesnakes. I don't know if I want to kind of go down that road. Hey, got another super chat. Thanks, Eric Jones. Awesome. Goes towards the tags on my Harley Davidson that I should get in about a month, which is kind of crazy. Looks like we already have 65 people on the live stream, which is kind of crazy. All right, so I'm going through these questions. I'm going to be kind of behind in the comments, but I'm going to try to hit every single question so you don't have to keep asking the same question over and over and over. You just ask it once, and I'll eventually get to your question. All right, just getting my collection started. My male banana pastel, male lesser het clown, female yellow belly enchi, female pastavi. Awesome. Are there any reptile shows coming up? So that's a good question. I've been trying to avoid all public gatherings during the pandemic, and I'd say if you're just kind of a spectator at a show and you go to a show, you'd probably be okay. But someone like me that is, pretty much everybody knows me. If I actually go to a reptile show, I have pretty much a line of people coming up to me pretty much nonstop shaking my hand. So I don't know if it would be, kind of wise for me to go to a show because I would probably get a lot of exposure, which is not really good for, the whole pandemic thing. All right, let's see. I was worried about you for some reason. Hope everything is okay. Yeah, I just lost my voice after the last live stream marathon. I did like 36 hours in 3 days of live stream, and I didn't realize what a toll that would take on your voice. My voice is just like, my throat was on fire, and then after 3 days, I just lost my voice, and I just had to stop. I just had to drop out, which is kind of crazy. All right, when you see hemipene smears, do you count that as a lock? Probably not. Usually with a lock, you actually see the tails wrapped together. I would probably not count the hemipene smears as a lock. I was surprised you sold your super pastel desert ghost. Yeah, I was kind of debating on all the snakes that I wanted to hold back, and I actually decided to sell that. I actually only kept 2 as holdbacks, and I actually kept my bamboo pastel pinstripe calico, and then I held back a coral glow pinstripe. So those are my 2. I pretty much have to cut it down because I'm running out of rack space. That's kind of the thing. I have a limited amount of rack space here in my reptile room, and I just can't really, I just don't have the space for all the holdbacks. Here from Roswell, New Mexico. Awesome. Little alien face. That's cool. Let's see. From New Yorkshire. Cool. Ozzy is slithering out of happiness, seeing his favorite snake online. This is Bobby, my favorite snake too. I was surprised you sold Lucky. Yeah, I kind of had to make a decision on as far as what I was going to keep, and I decided to sell all but 2 holdbacks this year, and that's one of the ones I actually decided to sell. What project would you recommend for new breeders? So probably what I would do is if I was a brand new breeder, I'd probably go with like a high-end male with multiple genes that are either dominant or co-dominant, and then get some females that are like normals or kind of like low-end females, because you can breed a lot of stuff to those females and get a whole rainbow of different combinations. I'd probably stay away from recessives when you're actually first getting into ball pythons. That can be kind of frustrating. Unless you do like visual recessives, then I do that. Hi, Chris. I hope you're doing well. Your videos are always playing in my house. That is cool. I have a lot of videos on YouTube, that's for sure. Let's see. What is better for a ball python snake, a plastic tub or a real cage? Well, I really prefer the gray plastic tubs behind me. The ball pythons do really well in the gray tubs. I actually started with glass enclosures, and it didn't seem like it really did very well with the glass enclosure. I want to get into breeding ball pythons. I have a ready to breed pinstripe yellow belly. Do you have any recommendations for a female? So let's see. A pinstripe yellow belly. What I would actually go with a pinstripe yellow belly, I would actually go with an asphalt. You can actually make a yellow belly asphalt, which is a freeway. And if you've ever seen the pinstripe freeways, they are just out of this world. If you can actually hit a pinstripe freeway, that would be amazing. I'd say that's kind of one of my dream stakes. That is a crazy combination. All right, let's see. How's Bobby? Bobby's doing great. He just went through a shed. He's been eating pretty good. Pretty much once a week I feed him, not, a whole bunch. I don't really pack the weight on him. He just went through a shed looking really good. He was kind of grumpy there for a while going through the shed, but he is doing fantastic. If you actually see him, I don't know how well my connection speed is here on the live stream. I have a pretty slow internet connection, but he is doing fantastic. No problems at all with Bobby. If you don't mind me asking, how did your cow pass away? My cow, that was kind of interesting. It was just kind of a sudden thing. I'm not sure exactly what happened with that cow. She was just 1 year old. I've never had a young cow just suddenly pass away like that with no reason at all. I'm thinking it was because when she was a young cow, she really didn't have enough colostrum, enough of the early milk that cows need right off. And usually it affects their immune system for their entire life. So I'm thinking it was an immune compromised cow. I was really worried about that right at first. And then after the first year, I thought, all right, we're pretty safe as far as the immune thing. And then just all of a sudden she died, and I'm thinking it was kind of a lag from the whole immune system thing. Hey, I love your videos from Aberdeen, Scotland. Thank you. Do you sleep with your snake? No, I don't sleep with my snake. I'd be afraid I'd roll over and hurt one of my snakes. Let's see. How often should I feed my male when it's pairing time? So males really don't need a lot of food. You could probably just feed them once a week. You could even probably feed them like every other week. I'd say it really depends on their body condition. If they're looking really thin, I like to feed them extra. If they're looking really big and beefy, sometimes I'll skip a feeding or two. But for the males, it really doesn't matter. When should I feed my female? Right after removing the males. So yeah, so what I do is when I pair up my snakes, essentially what I do is I separate them, and then I usually wait a couple days before I'll actually feed my females. And then after feeding, you definitely want to wait at least 3 or 4 days before you pair up again, because they can actually regurgitate if you feed your females and then pair them up with a male right away. Do I regret getting into reticulated pythons? No, I definitely love my reticulated pythons. As a matter of fact, on my retics, I'm glad I didn't buy a mainland, because the mainlands get really big. And the ones I have, I don't think they'll get much bigger than 100 pounds, and I've been doing pretty good with them. Reticulated pythons are pretty awesome. Let's see. I was just at a show yesterday and prices are up. Definitely. I was actually looking at a lot of prices. I was pricing out my snakes and the prices are definitely up pretty much across the board. It's kind of crazy. Do I have any normals for sale? As a matter of fact, I just posted the last of my hatchlings over on Morphmarket. Just have a few left from this year, and they're going really fast. I can't believe how quick they got. Usually most of them sell within a day or two of posting them over there. It's kind of crazy. Have I ever kept spotted or children's pythons? Definitely have not kept either one of those. Any tips for probing snakes? That is a good question. So what I would actually do, I actually have a few videos on probing snakes, probing hatchlings. You can actually go over there and kind of look at my technique. And I would say just get a probe kit and some lubricating gel, like a water-based lubricating gel, and then just practice. And when you're probing your snakes, you definitely don't need hardly any pressure. Just put just a gentle pressure, just enough to slip the probe in. And the other thing is if the snake tenses up in the tail. So for example, if I was to actually probe Bobby here, which would be kind of interesting, I've never really probed a snake this big, but you put the probe right in the tail, and if the snake is really tense, you can kind of feel the tail is really stiff. You definitely don't want to jam the probe with any force in there. You have to really wait until the snake completely relaxes before you just gently push the probe in the pocket. And you feel it, you actually feel it just slide right in and then just stop. If it goes in real deep, then it's a male, and if it goes in just a little bit, it's a female. And once you do it a couple times, it's really easy once you get the hang of it. The hardest part is trying to figure out how to actually position the snake as far as, you know, getting them to where they're not kind of running away. And kind of the thing that I've been doing lately is I'll take the hatchling of the snake and I'll actually put it in my lap with the head down in my lap, and I'll kind of probe it that way, kind of picking up the tail with the snake in my lap. And it seems like it works a lot easier probing snakes with the snake in my lap, which is kind of crazy. I've never actually done it before. I just kind of discovered it this year and it's been working great. Let's see. What do you prefer, a bumblebee or a killer bumblebee or a stinging bumblebee? So bumblebee is a pastel spider. Killer bumblebee is a super pastel spider, and a stinging bumblebee is an inchy pastel and spider. So what I probably would do is I would actually do the stinging bumblebee, because you have one extra gene. You actually have 3 different genes in that mix, where the other ones you'd actually only have 2 genes. I'd definitely go for that. The stinging bumblebee. What's what do you think about the candy pie project? That is awesome. The candy pie, which is pretty awesome. Not a lot of people are actually working with candy. Candy is essentially the same thing as toffee. A lot of people consider them to be the same genes. And it seems like the candies and the toffees have really held their price ever since I've been in ball pythons. It's been a really good project since the beginning. How's the Harley coming? I actually got a little bit of super chat money, and I actually sold a bunch of hatchlings and bought the Harley. So I actually sent him a check, and after 8 days, they didn't get the check. So then I sent a wire. Good thing it was my check and not my ballot, which is kind of crazy. I would not mail your ballot, you know, with my check getting lost in the mail for 8 days. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of scary. So I actually paid for the Harley, and now we're just working on shipping. So it's another 3 weeks probably before I actually get it shipped from Wisconsin. I didn't think it was going to take so long. It's kind of crazy. How often should I feed my female before pairing? That is a good question. So I really like to feed a lot more before pairing. As a matter of fact, I was going to pair on October 15th, and I kind of ran behind. And as a matter of fact, I haven't paired up my snakes yet. I'm kind of waiting another week, and I kind of want to feed my females at least once or twice before I pair them up. So it's you definitely don't want to pair up before you start feeding. I say maybe try doubling the amount of food for your female. Depends on the body condition too. If they're really fat and plump, I probably definitely wouldn't increase the feeding, but usually an increase of feeding will pretty much guarantee your success from that breeding. Let's see. What size rat should I feed my 2-ball pythons? One is about 10 months old, the other is 6. Usually when you're feeding rats, what I like to do is I like to feed a rat that is no bigger than the thickest part of the snake. So for Bobby here, usually the thickest part is, I wouldn't feed a rat much any bigger than this. And usually I feed maybe about like a third of like 2/3 of the thickest part of the snake. And then I probably feed like once a week. If it's a really chunky snake like Bobby here, he can probably get by like every other week. And then if he's looking a little bit skinny, sometimes I'll feed him 2 in a week. It really depends. Going to the Cleveland show to get my first ball python. Awesome. Yeah, I got a bamboo lemon blast calico yellow belly. Wow, that's a lot of bamboo lemon blast calico yellow belly. As a matter of fact, that's almost exactly the snake that I'm holding back. Actually, I'm holding back my bamboo pastel pinstripe calico, but it doesn't have the yellow belly. That's pretty cool. I've had her for 2 months, and she hasn't flicked her tongue like a ball python. Let's see. It's just the tip of the fork of her tongue. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about if your snake actually flicks their tongue or not. I've had some snakes that really don't flick their tongue, and some of them flick their tongues a lot, so it's not really an issue if your snake's not like flicking their tongue. It should be fine. Did you get the Harley or not? I got the Harley. It's another 3 weeks before I actually get it. All right, let's see. Is there a reason why my banana has all dark blue eyes? I've actually seen some interesting eye colors on bananas. Never really seen dark blues. Usually the bananas are a really super dark color. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly what color they are. Sometimes if you have like a blue shirt and you're trying to figure out, sometimes the blue off your shirt can kind of reflect on the eyes of the snake. So sometimes it can kind of trick you. But sometimes I've actually seen in certain combinations, if you have a gene from the blue-eyed leucistic complex, like just one copy of the lesser in there or something like that, I've actually seen that affect the eye color and give it kind of a shade of blue, which is pretty interesting. Let's see. I lost my place in the comments. Uh-oh. Let's see. All right. All right, here I am. Okay, yeah, let's see. All right. What's the best enclosure for a ball python? I really like the gray tubs that are behind me. As a matter of fact, there's one card that I gotta move over a little bit. I know some of you guys are OCD and you're like, oh, that card, you gotta slide it in there. It's driving me crazy. All right, let's see. Yo, it's Bobby. What's up, everybody? Yes. Are you going to do a video of your bike when it comes in? I will definitely do a video of the bike. As a matter of fact, I was thinking of doing multiple videos of the bike, maybe going to some reptile shows or maybe some pet stores or something like that on my bike. So I'll definitely work it into the channel. Not exactly sure where I'm going to go. Maybe I'll do some bike videos, kind of do some snake videos and some bike videos, kind of jump back and forth. You know, maybe some upgrades on my bike. I don't know if a lot more people would be into Harleys versus snakes. I thought it'd be interesting to kind of throw in a couple bike videos and just kind of see how they do. Do you ever let Bobby watch TV? That's a good question. As a matter of fact, I don't have a television, which is kind of crazy. I haven't had a TV in like 20 years. The last time I had a TV, it actually had the knobs, and I think I only had like 12 channels or something like that. So pretty much everything I watch is on YouTube, and I really don't let Bobby watch YouTube, I guess. Let's see. Here from Florence, Colorado. Hey, a local. That is pretty close, Florence, Colorado. All right. Do you regret quitting your job? As a matter of fact, some days I'm like, man, I should just get a job. I actually been kind of communicating with my old job, and they're like, hey, you can just come back anytime you want and jump in the lab and start doing some chemistry again. And let me tell you, it is definitely tempting. You know, because with YouTube and selling snakes, it's like you have these huge up and downs. Some months you make a lot of money, and some months you're like scraping bottom. It's just this huge swings up and down. And if I actually went back to my day job, it would be like the regulars, the regular grind 8 hours a day. You'd have the regular paycheck would be really consistent, and you'd have the weekends off. Except I don't think I could do both the day job and the YouTube at the same time. So I'd have to make a decision if I want to continue on YouTube. And I decided pretty much if I can do it to keep going on YouTube and hold off on the day job, at least for now. So we'll see what happens. Red Bluff, California. Awesome. Blood pythons or ball pythons? I would say for me, it is ball pythons all the way. Blood pythons are pretty cool. They can be pretty aggressive if you don't handle them, but I've seen some puppy dog tame blood pythons, and they get really super big, which is pretty awesome. They get a lot bigger than even your biggest ball python, and they're really colorful too. I really like blood pythons. I don't know if I actually own one. I have so many snakes. I'm pretty much sticking just with ball pythons and a couple of retics. All right, let's see. Am I the only one besides Chris chilling out with my ball python? We're just all hanging out with our ball pythons, just having some more snake talk. Hello from Germany. What about the bike? Yes, I did get the Harley Davidson. It's about, they said anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks for shipping. So I'm just waiting on the shipping. And if people give me super chats, I guess that is for the tags and the registration and the taxes. And the one thing I haven't really considered is how much the taxes are going to be when I have to actually pay the taxes on the bike, which is kind of crazy. Love your content. What happened to the live streams? Actually, I lost my voice after 3 12-hour live streams. And I just could not do it anymore. As a matter of fact, I had to take like a week off because it was just, my throat was just gone. I just couldn't even talk. Are you working with any freeways? No, I'm not doing any freeways. No asphalt. No, I don't even think I have yellow belly in my collection right now. I did have some yellow belly, but I actually sold both of my snakes with yellow belly. So no freeways at the moment. What's your thought on doing a clutch or two with maternal incubation? That would be pretty interesting to actually try it where the snake incubates their own egg. Probably the toughest part would be to keep the temperature spot on. If you had, you know, a good ambient temperature and a hot spot, and the humidity might be problematic too. So if you're kind of in the tropics and you can actually keep your snakes in, you know, with enough humidity and enough heat, you could probably do it. But here in the Colorado climate, it's just so dry. I'd be fighting the humidity nonstop. I think it'd be pretty tough. I'm going for blue-eyed leucistics. All right, nice. Bananas and clowns. That's awesome. Hello from Denmark. Hey, what is going on? People from all over the world. It's kind of crazy. Let's see. When should I introduce my male for breeding? Good question. So what I do is I just pretty much pick a date on the calendar, like October 15th, and then I put my males with my females, assuming my females have good body condition and they're actually on food. If my females are off of food, and especially if they have a really bad body condition, if they're looking really thin, I definitely wouldn't put the males with them. But I don't really look for like the follicle development or anything like that. I just kind of pair them up and put them together. Hey everyone, hi Bobby, what is up? Has Bobby ever struck at me or at anyone? No, Bobby has never tried to bite anyone, which is kind of crazy. As a matter of fact, actually, Bobby drew blood once. I was actually doing a video, and I was like right in the middle of a video, and I reached back to grab Bobby's head, and I think he was in the middle of a yawn, and his yawn actually, I think my finger went in his mouth in the middle of a yawn, and he like ripped my finger open. I was like bleeding everywhere. The first time that Bobby ever got me, which is kind of crazy, but I don't think it was actually an aggressive strike from Bobby. I have 2 hatchling ball pythons and I'm trying to breed eventually. What happens if you breed too early? Will some of the eggs be fertile or will they all die? So if you actually breed a female too early, a lot of times what will actually happen is the female won't actually lay eggs. I've actually had that happen where you pair them up and the female doesn't lay eggs and it'll go off of food for a really long time. So especially if your female's like right at 1,500 grams and you try to pair them up, if they go off of food for like 6 months, they can go all the way down to like 1,300 grams. And then it's really tough to actually bring it back up to weight for the next year. And I've actually heard if you breed them way too young, that the female can get egg bound and it can actually kill them trying to breed a female that is way too small. So I definitely would not breed females too small. Pretty much 1,500 grams is the minimum, which most people consider the minimum for females. Let's see. What's the most amount of weight males can wear? That is a good question. I always wondered if I took Bobby here, which is, I don't know, he's probably, maybe he's about 3,000 grams. Look at how big he is. He's a really big snake. Maybe about, I think the last time I weighed him, he's about 2,800, maybe about 3,000 now. And if I bred him with like a 1,500 gram female, I think it would be okay. I've never actually heard anyone say that it's kind of, you know, the opposite where your male can be too big. So I would think it would be okay if your male is too big. I've heard big males can actually get lazy and not breed the females. I've actually heard that before. Let's see. Would you have a banana phantom or a banana kingpin? Or do you have? I actually don't have a banana phantom or kingpin, but if I was to choose between the two, I would probably choose the banana kingpin because it has one more gene with the banana, the lesser, and the pinstripe. Hello from Dubai. What is going on? What label maker do you use? I actually use a label maker that is I don't think they actually make that label maker anymore. It's a Brother P Touch. You can actually buy used ones over on eBay. I've actually seen some used ones over there. And for the label maker, I'd say you could use pretty much any label maker that prints out a 1/2 inch label. And for the magnetic tape, essentially what I use is this stuff right here. And what I do is it just comes in a roll. It's like a roll of tape, and then it's weird. And then you just cut it, and it's magnets. And then I just put the label right on there, and it's like it's awesome. I put them on all my tubs, and I can move them around and kind of rearrange everything. And then I used to kind of track stuff like the snakes that are in shed, and then the feeding and everything. And I pretty much went down to just pretty much the ID of the snake on a lot of my magnetic strips. So it's really handy. It's like a 1/2 inch magnetic tape and a 1/2 inch the printer from the label maker. Works pretty good. All right, let's see. How often should I put my male in with my female? So what I actually do is when I'm breeding my snakes, I put the male in with the female, usually for 3 to 4 days, and then I'll separate them. And some people actually look for locks. I tend to not really look for locks. I don't really care about it because I'll keep pairing the males with the females on and off over the next few months. So what I'll do is I'll put the males with the females for a few days, and then I'll separate them, feed them both. And then usually after about 2 or 3 weeks, I'll put the male back in with the female for 3 or 4 days and just keep cycling the males through the females that way. How's the Harley fund going? Yeah, so I actually got some money from the super chat from the live streams, and then I sold a bunch of hatchlings, and I actually did come up with the money to buy the Harley. So that's actually what I'm using instead of doing. I actually did the live stream for 3 days straight, and I lost my voice, and I figured, yeah, that's probably not the best way to actually raise funds for the Harley Davidson. So that was pretty much out the window. But I did buy the Harley, and it should be here hopefully in 2 to 3 weeks. It should be pretty awesome. I have my hatchling for 2.5 weeks now. She didn't eat yet. Would you suggest a live mouse? Yes, definitely. Especially if it's a hatchling, I would definitely move back to a live mouse. Especially, it depends on how big it is. So usually with hatchlings, they're pretty much dependent on the live mouse hoppers. Usually I found pretty much for the first 6 to 10 meals, and then you can kind of transition over to frozen thawed. But if they get stuck and they won't eat the frozen thawed, I would definitely go back to a live mouse, maybe just once or twice, and then try to go back to the frozen thawed. I would definitely stay away from live if you can long term and get on frozen thawed. Do I rate clowns? Clowns are awesome. I really do like clowns. It's pretty awesome. Let's see. I have a leap order gecko. I was thinking of getting a crested gecko. Not really into geckos. I do have a couple crested geckos in my collection. And I actually feed my crested geckos usually every day, sometimes every other day. And I know some of the big breeders for crested geckos will say, don't feed them every day because they can get kind of fat and chunky. But I've been feeding mine pretty much every day. Kind of the weird thing with my crested geckos is every now and then I'll see a little baby in there with the others. And I think the parents are actually eating their offspring. So if you actually are breeding crested geckos and you see a baby and you want to keep them, I'd probably separate them. I've seen several babies in there and they just disappear. I think they're getting eaten by the parents. So that's my first experience with crested geckos, and I've had them for like about a year now, which is kind of cool. Hello from South Africa. Wow, that's crazy. Way down in South Africa. Let's see. What book should I get if I want to get into breeding? I don't know that there's really a really good book on breeding. I'd probably stick with YouTube. There's a lot of videos on YouTube as far as breeding. Let's see. From Glasgow, Scotland. Awesome. Love your videos. Let's see. Do I have any pieds available for sale? No, I don't have any pieds. I actually took my fire pied and I bred it with my pied female. I got a whole bunch of eggs, and all the eggs looked really good. And come to find out, none of those eggs actually had any veins or any embryos. And I incubated them anyways. None of them developed, and they all went bad. I think there was like 8 eggs or something like that. That was like my worst disaster in that I've ever had out of any of my eggs in ball pythons. And those would have all been pieds. It was actually 2 visual pieds. So this year, my pied project was definitely a bust, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. I hope you're all right from England. Yes, I just lost my voice for a little bit. I had to take a break. It was kind of crazy. Let's see. What's the best way to start a breeding timetable? So what I actually do is I actually start pairing up my snakes on October 15th, although I'm kind of a week or 2 behind this year, but usually I kind of shoot for mid-October as far as pairing up my snakes. And that way I actually get hatchlings by the fall shows when most of the people actually have a lot of their hatchlings for sale. Chris, what is one ball python you have put into your videos you wish you would have had the opportunity to buy? There's been a lot of ball pythons I put in a lot of my videos that I wish I had the opportunity to buy. So I'd say probably some of the ones that are really cool are some of the freeways. Some of the freeway combinations are probably one of the coolest combinations that I like to get into. A little bit complicated as far as breeding and producing them because it's an allele complex. But I'd say, if, out of all of them that I actually showed, I'd say probably the most impressive have been some of the freeways. Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. What is up? What do you get if you mate a banana to a lesser? So if you actually take a banana, you breed it to a lesser, you'll get some bananas, you'll get some lessers, you'll get some normals, and you'll get some banana lessers. You'll get quite a combination. Let's go for another 12 hours. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to last for 12 hours. I was thinking maybe of going to 5 o'clock, which would be another 3 hours, maybe. I don't know if I want to go that long. But I was thinking, 5 o'clock, I need to go out and feed the animals. It gets kind of crazy. So, 12 hours is kind of tough because I have to kind of, actually feed all my animals extra and kind of load them up on food. And I have a little baby cow out there now, so I try to pen the cow up with mom at night to keep the big bull, and the steer comes over and they're like laying on all the straw that I have out there for the baby. All right, what ball python should I buy with a budget of $120? That is a good question. So $120, I'd say you could probably get probably like a single gene animal. So you could probably get like a pastel or a lesser or a Mojave or something like that, depending on where you get it. If you actually get it on Morphmarket and have it shipped, sometimes the shipping can be up to $80. So sometimes the shipping had cut into it. But if you're going to like a local reptile show or maybe like a reptile store, I'd say you could probably get like a pinstripe or something like that, usually for $120. Are lessers generally annoying when feeding? I haven't really noticed anything unusual about lessers when feeding. Mine almost refuses to eat, and she's about 2 years old. So yeah, some snakes are kind of picky when it comes to feeding. So it really depends on the snake. Let's see. Did anyone ever make a monsoon pied combo? Not that I've actually seen. Let's see. Just picked up a blackhead female. What would you pair with the blackhead? That is a good question. Blackhead is a dark gene. What would I pair with the blackhead? I really like the super blackheads. If you can actually pair a blackhead with a blackhead and make the super blackhead. Blackhead goes good with just about anything. I'd probably do like a blackhead banana. That would be pretty cool. Or a blackhead coral glow. Hello, Angel. What is up? I've been studying breeding ball pythons for over a year, talked to quite a few people, and reading and watching YouTube. I think I'm ready. All right. Cool. My 7-month-old female who normally eats every week without fail went off of food and wouldn't eat for 3 weeks, and she finally ate yesterday. Is this normal? Definitely normal for ball pythons. They'll just eat and eat and eat for like a year, sometimes 2 or 3 years, and then sometimes for whatever reason they'll just go off of food pretty unexpectedly, and it can be pretty unnerving if you're not used to it. And it's kind of funny. I've seen a lot of people, they're getting into ball pythons, and they're like, hey, all my ball pythons have been eating every week for me consistently, no problems at all. And it's people that are brand new into the hobby with hatchlings, and the hatchlings will eat consistently until a lot of times until they get to about like 1,000 grams or 1,200 grams or something like that. And then sometimes they'll just go off of food for whatever reason, sometimes for months at a time, which can be kind of crazy. Let's see, Bobby's choking me out here. My coral glow has really blue eyes. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't know what would cause blue eyes in a coral glow. Does it matter if a snake eats tail first compared to head first, which is kind of interesting. All right, Bobby. All right, I give Bobby no choking, no choking. So I've actually seen some snakes try to eat a rat tail first, and a lot of times it actually won't work. Sometimes they'll try to eat it, and they'll struggle and struggle and struggle. They'll finally figure out they have to actually flip the rodent over and eat head first. But if you're actually feeding a hatchling, a lot of hatchlings, especially with really small rodents, they can actually eat the tail first on some of your smaller rodents, and it doesn't really matter tail first or head first. But usually with a big snake with bigger rodents, it usually doesn't work trying to eat tail first. It's like the tail gets in the way or something. All right, I've had a female pastel for 2 months, and since I got her, she's made a ticking noise like a pocket watch. It's interesting. I've never seen a snake with kind of making a ticking noise like that. I don't know. You might actually, I'd probably recommend bringing that to a vet, or maybe, doing a short video and post it somewhere in a forum where people can actually look, but I've never actually seen that before. Should I take the hide out of the cage when I put the male in for breeding? I would probably take the hide out. Maybe cover, if you're actually in like a glass enclosure or something, probably what I do is I put the male in and then cover the whole thing with like a dark towel or something to darken the whole enclosure when you have the male with the female. Hi, Chris. I have a male, 750 gram or so, and I've had him for a few months, and I haven't seen him lock with anything. Yeah, sometimes it can kind of surprise you. A lot of times you'll actually put the males with the females, and it's a lot of people say, hey, I haven't seen my snakes lock. And I'd say most of the snakes, when I pair them up, I don't keep peeking in there to see a lock, because sometimes you'll actually break a lock and you'll disturb them if you keep peeking in the tub. So what I do is I just put them in there. I'd say most of the times I never see a lock, and I don't really even worry about it. And if I get eggs, I get eggs. And if I don't, I don't. I'd say most of the times, most of the snakes will lock and you won't actually see the lock. Let's see. Go Exotics. I just set up my super pastel female in this 45 by 90 by 45. She's grown to be 2.5 feet in 8 months. Will she ever need a new enclosure? Yeah, I'd have to actually measure that up. 45 by 90 centimeters. I pretty much just go with the ARS tubs. I don't even know what the dimensions are on these just off the top of my head. But eventually, I'd say usually like if you have a snake that's 1.5 feet, and usually, within like the first few years, they don't really grow that much, but they some of them get really big. Some of them, I actually have one that's 5,000 grams, which is kind of crazy. Doesn't even fit in the ARS 70 series tubs. So I'd say, yes, you may actually need to upgrade your enclosure at some point. All right, let's see. Hi, Chris. I have a ball python first time, and he went to the bathroom fine and fed. Now it's going to his feeding. Hasn't. Yeah, my snake hasn't pooped in a long time. What is going on with my snake? I've actually heard that a lot of times. And sometimes they can hold it for a really long time. As a matter of fact, Bobby has held it and didn't go to the bathroom for months and months. And for a new snake owner, the long time between the feeding, long time between going to the bathroom, it can be really concerning. But it's pretty normal for snakes to really, take a long time between feedings and going to the bathroom sometimes. Let's see, my black pastel desert ghost is always on her cool side. Her cool side's 80, hot side's 90. She never goes to the hot side. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Some snakes prefer to sit on the hot side. Some prefer to sit on the cool side. It's just kind of random. just kind of depends on the snake, and I think the time of the year too. Most snakes, after they eat a rodent, they'll actually go to the hot side for a couple days and then back to the cool side. They go to the hot side to just digest. So I think it's pretty normal. So let's see. Let's see. I have an Enchi head clown. Nice. Let's see. I should get a 4K TV for Bobby. Yeah, I should get the problem is if I got a TV, I'd never get out in front of that TV. It's so addictive watching TV. It just kind of sucks you in, and then you get. I got so much going on. I really don't have time to watch TV anyway. All right, let's see. Let's see, what's my favorite holdback this year? So, as a matter of fact, I actually had a whole bunch of snakes I was going to hold back, and I sold all of them except two. And the two that I'm actually keeping, I don't know what Bobby's doing here. The two snakes that I'm actually keeping, I'm keeping a bamboo combo, which is a bamboo pastel pinstripe calico. That thing is looking really crazy. I should show you that actually. It's actually getting really, really awesome looking. So that is one of the ones, that's actually a male. I definitely need more males because I have so many females. I'm kind of running low. I don't have enough males to service all my females, which is kind of an interesting problem. And then I'm also holding back one of my coral glow pinstripes that I think might be het pied because the pattern's a little bit jumbled up. It's a 50% het pied. I'm thinking it might be het pied. So those are the only two that I'm really holding back. I wanted to hold back a whole bunch of them, but I don't really have room in my rack to hold back more than just a couple every year. All right, let's see. Would you ever consider a sunset? Yes, I would consider doing a sunset or a het sunset. It seems like they've been holding their prices really well. It's not really that popular. I think it would be a pretty good project to actually get into a sunset. Maybe do the sunset pied, which would be a pretty awesome project. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I kind of considered is I'm actually working on my triple hets, my albino pied clowns. If I can actually produce a visual, albino pied clown visual, and breed that to a sunset and get the quadruple hets, albino pied clown sunset. That would be an awesome project. Working sunset into that crazy project. That would be really awesome. All right, let's see. Got my big banana pastel Zorro hanging out with me. Awesome. Hi from Vancouver, British Columbia. What is going on? If I won the lottery, would I continue to breed ball pythons? That is a good question. It depends on how much I actually won if I won the lottery. I'd probably what I would do if I won the lottery is I'd start up a small separate breeding project, like a little business, like a little building or something like that, and hire some people to kind of take care of it. And probably just pop in every now and then to do some videos. I'm not sure exactly what I'd do if I won the lottery. The problem is I don't play the lottery, so I'd probably never win because I never buy a ticket. What kind is it? Yes, this ball python around my neck. This is Bobby, my bamboo ball python. How many times a week would I feed a hatchling? It's kind of interesting. This year I've been feeding my hatchlings at least once a week, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week. Now, let me tell you, if you feed a hatchling 3 times a week, it grows really super fast. It's pretty amazing. And pretty much what it comes down to is how many hatchlings I have and how many mice that I actually have in my rodent rack. This year, I just had an explosion of mice, and I was trying to unload them, and that's why my hatchlings grew so fast. I was trying to unload those mice, and now I'm down to just a few hatchlings. I think I only have, let's see, I only have maybe about 15 hatchlings left in my rack over here. So it's I have a lot more mice than hatchlings do right now. Hey, how are you? What is going on? Let's see. What would I do if Bobby randomly gained the ability to talk? I would ask Bobby, are you happy in that tub? Do you want a glass enclosure or do you want to hang out in the gray enclosure? That's what I would ask him. A lot of people say, one versus the other. I think the gray enclosures are a lot better for ball pythons and they seem a lot happier, but if I could talk to my snake, that is what I'd ask him. Let's see. Hi from NorCal. What is up? Northern California. What is up? That near Fresno. All over the place. Indiana. Cool. New Enchi ball owner. Awesome. Do you like jazz? Every now and then I do listen to jazz. I'd say I'm not like a die-hard jazz person. Usually what I listen to is more hard rock, sometimes the classical rock. Let's see. Thoughts on the Nido virus. That's kind of interesting. Someone was actually asking me about the virus. They said every single snake that they buy, they test it for the virus before it comes into their collection. I've never actually tested any of my snakes, never had any of my snakes have any problems. So don't really know much about that virus. Have I tried power feeding? Yeah, so it really depends on what you would consider power feeding. So if you actually feed too many rodents in a row, I've actually done this before with some hatchlings. If you feed like say for example, if you actually fed 3 rodents back to back to the same hatchling, I've actually run into a problem where the hatchling will regurgitate. So I really avoid feeding that many rodents in a row. If I actually feed 3 rodents to a hatchling in a week, usually I'll space it out over at least 2 or 3 days between the different feedings. You don't want to feed them too close together. But when it comes to power feeding, I'd say most people are against power feeding. Usually, I'd say when most people consider power feeding is trying to really increase the amount of eggs from your female by overfeeding your females, trying to really, kind of push a lot of food into them. And I definitely would not recommend that. South Carolina, what do I think of the super lorry leopard? So it's kind of interesting. The super lorry to me kind of looks like a red axanthic. It'd be kind of interesting to take the lorry and cross it with the red axanthic to see if they're compatible, which would be kind of interesting. Let's see. This is my first year getting eggs and hatch them. Any tips on how to get them to eat live or frozen? So yeah, so for the very first hatchlings, I would definitely feed them live rodents at the beginning. I found that a lot of hatchlings will just absolutely refuse a frozen thaw. As a matter of fact, I found a lot of my hatchlings will actually refuse live rats too. They pretty much will only eat like a frozen thawed, like a live mouse hopper. It's kind of interesting. My very first year I was into ball pythons, I hatched out I think it was like 30, 35 hatchlings. I had them all in this hatchling rack right over here. And I filled the whole thing with hatchlings. And at the time I was breeding just the rats. And I had frozen thawed mice, I had live rats and frozen thawed rats. And I thought, all right, I'm going to try frozen thawed mice. And I went through all my hatchlings and I couldn't get a single one to eat frozen thawed. So I was like, all right, I want to actually try little rat pups, like the little tiny rat pinkies, just big enough for a hatchling. And I went through the whole thing and I put rat pups in all like 35 snakes. And I think I left them in there overnight, and out of all those snakes, I only got like 2 or 3 of them to eat. I was really frustrated. I actually went to a pet store and I said, this is my first time breeding ball pythons. I'm so exasperated. What can I feed these snakes? Because I cannot get them to eat. And they recommended live mouse hoppers. And I spent a fortune. It was like $3 a mouse hopper, something like that. And I think I bought like 40 of them or something crazy like that. And I actually went through and fed live mouse hoppers, and almost every single one of my hatchlings actually ate. And at that point, I was like, yep, live mouse hoppers is definitely the trick to get your hatchlings to eat. So that's definitely what I would start with, is live mouse hoppers. All right, let's see. How are you tracking your feedings? I actually have feeding cards on my snakes. As a matter of fact, I'll show you this. Talk about power feeding. Look at this guy. So this is my feeding card. I actually just kind of came up with this. This is my feeding card, if you can actually see that. So this has like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, has every year, and then it has 5 every month, and then 5 lines for every month, which is every week. And then every week I have 3 boxes that I can check up to 3 feedings per week. And this one actually, sometimes it actually had, 3 meals in 1 week, which usually they don't eat that much. This one's kind of crazy. And you see some months like this last month, it only ate just a couple meals that month because it was kind of looking fat from the meals the months before. So I kind of cut back a little bit. So, but this is really awesome. What I do is I just print this out on my printer. It's just a blue 3x5 card. And then I get this, this is like a baseball card holder. You can buy them over on eBay for baseball cards. Kind of interesting. Then I just put a little Velcro on the back. And then I actually put a little bit of like Scotch tape right on here so I can just grab it. And these are fantastic because I can just, instead of looking at a book and trying to figure out who ate what, I can just look at the card and see exactly what they ate over the whole year. Unless it's January, and then you don't really have a lot of information. The further you go in the year, the more information you have. I suppose you could put another card on top and then kind of switch them. So this is like my second year with these feeding cards. These are absolutely fantastic. And I can just look, like the cool thing about that is if I have extra mice or extra rodents, I can just kind of scan all the cards and see, all right, who hasn't eaten in the last couple weeks, and where can I take this rodent and try to feed another snake? It's been working really well. Let's see. Ever think about getting into boa constrictors? That is a good question. As a matter of fact, I do have 2 empty boa tubs here in my reptile room. I'm thinking about getting a boa. I'm thinking maybe of getting like a super fire, one of the all-white boa constrictors, but they're really super expensive. They're like, I'd say anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 for a super boa. I'd probably get a female and just sit on that female for a few years and grow it up and see if I can get some super boas. That'd be pretty awesome. What's up, man? Let's see. Hi, I'm from Denver, Colorado. Awesome. I was wondering if you have ever used the Orange Ghost morph. So I don't actually have Orange Ghost in my collection. I don't know what Bobby's doing. Crazy snake. But Orange Ghost is pretty awesome. Kind of the bummer about Orange Ghost is they're pretty cheap. They're pretty inexpensive. So you can get into it really cheap. I don't know if you could actually make some really high-end Orange Ghost stuff unless you mixed it with other stuff. But I'd say out of all the ghosts, I really love the Orange Ghost. Can make some really amazing combinations. It's one of my favorite genes that I actually don't have in my collection. Another thing is it's actually a recessive gene. So that's another challenging thing about the Orange Ghost. My hubby just brought me home a bumblebee python from Petco. Nice. That is awesome. Sometimes you can get some good deals at some of the Petcos. Some people are against them. Probably one of the biggest things about the Petcos and the PetSmarts is they are totally against feeding live mouse hoppers. And sometimes those snakes, if they're really small, they definitely need live mice to kind of get started. But sometimes you can find some really good deals at those stores. Let's see, if a male and a female are eating, is it all right to leave them together through the breeding season? So I would probably not keep my males and females together full time. Essentially what I found is if you actually take a male and put it in with a female and leave them together for like a week or a week and a half, essentially what happens is it's kind of funny when you put them together, they get really excited and they lock, and then after a few days, they separate to either sides of the enclosure. And I think they kind of get irritated at each other. I don't think it really helps to keep them in full time. I'd probably go through the cycles, keep cycling the male through. And it seems like when you put the males and females after a separation, it seems like it kind of stimulates them to lock up versus just keeping them together all the time. Let's see. What is the amount you're up to on the Harley? Good question. So yeah, I was actually doing a live stream marathon to come up with the money for the Harley. I think I came up with like $1,000 after 3 days on the super chats, which was pretty awesome. And after doing 3 12-hour days, I lost my voice and I had to take like a whole week off from YouTube, which is kind of crazy. So what I did is I actually just sold a bunch of hatchlings, paid the rest on the Harley, And actually, so I paid for it, and they're just working on shipping it. It should be here in about 2 to 3 weeks, so that's pretty awesome. So I'm not really doing the Harley Davidson fundraiser, although if I make any super chats today, it'll probably go towards like the registration and the taxes on that crazy bike, which is pretty awesome. I'll definitely do a video on the Harley once I get it. Let's see. Do you have one of those automatic cow brushes? I don't have an automatic cow brush. Those are pretty cool. It's like the big round brush that scratches the back of the cows. I've actually seen some of those. As a matter of fact, I actually go out to my cows and just kind of brush off their backs just with my gloves to kind of get all the dirt off the cows. Kind of tames them down a bit too. Have you ever hatched out a two-headed ball python? I have not had a two-headed ball python. I have not had, well, I've actually had twins in snakes. I think I've had 3 twins where you actually have 2 snakes and 1 egg. But it seems like every time I have twins, only one of the twins survives and the other one dies in the egg. And the twin always comes out is kind of really small and stunted, which is kind of crazy. I don't know what Bobby's doing. He's trying to get behind me in the back of the chair. I don't want to squash him. Oh, now he's going to choke me. Hey, Chris, nice to see you back. Thank you. All right. I am back. Yeah, I had to take a break after I lost my voice from those live streams. Let's see. Well, I finally joined a live stream on this channel. Yeah, sometimes my live streams are kind of erratic. As a matter of fact, I was thinking maybe of going to like a Sunday afternoon live stream. Hey, we got a super chat. All right. Eric Jones. The best morphs for bright colors and patterns. Good question. So I'd say the best morphs for the bright colors and patterns are probably like your pastel, your fire, the orange dream, make some really bright and flashy colors. So those are like the yellow belly. If you actually work yellow belly into pastel, orange dream, and fire, you can make some really crazy, super bright combinations. All right, let's see. Just stopped in to say hi. What is going on? Let's see. What are some of the ways to tell the difference between a normal and a yellow belly? So I found pretty much on your yellow bellies, pretty much the best way to tell is if you actually look at the belly. Some of them you can't actually tell on Bobby, but a lot of times they'll have like it almost looks like I guess close to het pied markers, where you actually see the tracks coming up the belly, but instead of like someone actually taking a Sharpie and drawing the line with a Sharpie, what it looks like is like little pixelation, almost like little, kind of like little freckles on either side of the belly. That's usually a really strong indication that you have yellow belly in the mix. And sometimes the yellow bellies can actually have flames coming up the side. You can't see it on Bobby, but usually like between the alien heads, you'll actually see some flames. Usually it's a little bit more orange in your yellow belly, the flames coming up between the alien heads. And sometimes the head can actually be just a little bit faded out on the yellow belly. Sometimes it's really hard to tell the difference between a normal and a yellow belly. What's the most you've spent on one snake? The most I spent on one ball python is $1,500, and that is my banana inchy clown. That was kind of a crazy snake. So my ball python keeps hiding under the water dish. That's interesting. He's ice cold under there sometimes. That's kind of interesting. Under the water dish. I've never really had that happen before. As a matter of fact, I actually did have that happen with one snake. It kind of crawled up under the water dish. Sometimes ball pythons can be kind of erratic in their behavior. Sometimes you can't really figure them out. I'm hoping to get a ball python sometime in the next few months. What size terrarium should I get for a juvenile? So keep in mind, if you actually get, a lot of people, what they do is they start with like a glass aquarium, and really the glass aquarium is pretty much invisible to your ball python. It really comes down to the size of the hide. So what I do is I get one of the bigger, the round hides, just starting out with like a ball python in a glass enclosure, and this like a hide with just one hole on the front, and get the biggest hide you can, probably. But you don't want too big of a hide. You don't want one that's really huge. But I say, an appropriate size, maybe that the ball python can completely stretch out, or at least, 2/3 of the length of the snake as far as the hide. All right, let's see. Let's see. My comments kind of glitched out here. I lost my place. Uh-oh. Let's see. All right. I lost my place where I was in my comments. Oh wait, I was further down than this. All right, so maybe I'll start with the current comments and go backwards through here. All right, let's see. What's up, Chris? New York Powerballs. What is going on? Do female ball pythons live longer than males? I don't think there's really a difference between the males and the females when it comes to longevity. As a matter of fact, I saw that one in the zoo that was over 60 years old. That was pretty crazy. I didn't even know ball pythons can live that long. Let's see. There's nothing wrong with feeding your snakes hamsters. So let's see. Would there be something wrong with feeding them hamsters? So kind of interesting thing about hamsters is if you actually take a look at the different things you can feed your snake, you can feed them. A lot of people will feed them hamsters or African soft furs or mice or rats. And I would say it's pretty much the best thing you can feed a ball python is rats, because they're the cheapest, they're the easiest to breed, and they're readily available everywhere. And if you actually get them onto hamsters, I found that some people are talking about hamsters like they're candy for ball pythons. You get a ball python on hamsters, and sometimes they refuse to eat anything else. And the problem with hamsters is it's kind of the same with African soft furs, is they're not really as productive as rats. Sometimes it can be pretty slow breeding hamsters, and it can be pretty expensive buying hamsters. So I would probably not feed too many hamsters or African soft furs. I'd get them on rats primarily. But if you get a stubborn snake, you can actually give them a hamster or African soft fur every now and then. This is kind of the same if you actually get a ball python stuck on mice, and you actually get mousers that refuse to eat anything else. It's kind of the same way with African soft furs and hamsters. It can get kind of frustrating. Do I still have the tiny spide? I actually sold that little tiny spider pied. I actually sold that one. That is now part of my Harley Davidson. Actually, I sold that one to come up with the money for my Harley Davidson. I sold a lot of the stuff I was actually going to hold back. I just have 2 holdbacks this year that I'm going to hold back. Let's see. I got a female pastel bamboo. She's so awesome. The reason I got her is because of Bobby. Yes, that is awesome. Bobby is pretty awesome. He is a pretty awesome snake. How often do I get bit? I almost never get bit. Pretty much never get bit unless I have like hatchlings, and I'm like pretty much the time I get bit the most is when I'm probing hatchlings, especially hatchlings that have some age to them and they haven't been handled a lot, and I'm probing them, trying to figure out the males from the females. Sometimes they'll bite me, and it's kind of interesting. Then I'd say most times I can go like for a whole month or 2 without getting bit at all. It's usually not a problem at all. Let's see. What's your opinion on breeding a female that has been egg bound in the past? So it's kind of interesting. I would say you can breed a female. If you have a female that was egg bound, I'd probably give her the following year off as far as breeding that female to something else. But I would say if you actually can get them past that, you'd be fine breeding it. Have you ever considered an outdoor enclosure that you can let your snakes out for some fresh air? Yeah, it'd have to be really enclosed because we have hawks and everything else. Yeah, we have a lot of predators up here. We have a lot of bears. Actually, you'll go out there and see bears digging in the dumpster, and a lot of foxes and coyotes and a bunch of stuff. It's kind of risky bringing any pets outside. So that's kind of one of the big things up here in the mountains. Will you be vending at any expos this fall? No, I definitely won't, because This year is it's kind of weird. I've actually been selling everything on Morphmarket. As soon as I post it over there, it sells within a day or two. Most of my stuff, it's kind of crazy. As a matter of fact, I have all these hatchling racks, and they're just sitting around empty because I used to like collect all my hatchlings and save them for all the shows, and then go to the shows, and I'd have 60 snakes in my display. And the last couple of years, it seems like as soon as I post them on Morphmarket, they sell right away. As a matter of fact, I actually posted some snakes on Morphmarket, and you can actually see the statistics as far as how many people actually look at your snakes. And some of my snakes, I've actually had like 50,000 views over on Morphmarket after just like a couple of weeks. It is pretty incredible how many people are actually looking at the snakes over on Morphmarket, and they just sell so fast. I don't know if I'll ever do a reptile show if just kind of selling them on Morphmarket. It's just kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Chomper is still not eating. Yeah, so with Chomper, yeah, so Chomper was he's actually my Bumblebee, 100% het pie, possible yellow belly. I think it's yellow belly. And that one is, I would say, probably the best thing to do with Chomper is to put him in the dark and keep him in the dark. Don't touch him and keep him in a completely dark enclosure for like maybe a week or two, and then just pop in a small live rat, something that's about maybe half as big as the thickest part of his body to try to get him. That snake is coming off of laying eggs, and it's pretty picky, and it's really scared of people. So Chomper can be a challenge, but I would say it's actually ate a couple times after it laid eggs, so it should be back on food if you kind of keep them in the dark, and I'd say use a live rat. I've actually tricked Chomper into eating a couple frozen thawed every now and then. What I do is actually take the tongs and kind of put it way in the back of the tub and wiggle it, so you actually can't see your hand. Sometimes that'll work. All right, let's see. Have you ever found any particular morphs to be more defensive than others? Actually, it's kind of interesting. I've actually seen my albino pied hets, double het for albino pied, seem to be a lot more aggressive than a lot of my other ones. For some reason, those double hets are just really super aggressive, which I don't know what's kind of going on with those. And sometimes the bamboos can be really aggressive too, especially when they're hatchlings. Like bamboo, like Bobby around my neck, they get to a certain size and they just kind of go crazy. And kind of on the flip side is when they're really aggressive like that, a lot of times they'll eat a lot better than a lot of the other hatchlings. So sometimes you get bit more, but a lot of times you'll actually have an easier time feeding those hatchlings. All right, what's my worst snake bite? My worst snake bite, I actually was feeding I actually had this really big spider pied male. It was really huge. I actually sold it. As a matter of fact, I just sold it this year, just this spring. It was about 8 months ago or so, something like that. And the crazy thing about that is he had a little bit of a head wobble, and sometimes it would miss the rat. And I was actually feeding him the rat, and it missed the rat, and it got me in the hand right between my finger and my thumb, and it grabbed on really tight and wrapped around my whole arm. I was just hanging on for dear life, and it was kind of the worst bite I ever had. And not even thinking, I reached around and tried to pull his mouth off with my finger, and my finger got all torn up trying to pull the mouth off. Oh, I was just bleeding all over from my finger and my hand. I had blood all over the snicker. It was kind of crazy. That was the worst bite that I ever had. Let's see. I bought a Phantom Fire spider with wobble. Yeah, sometimes the spiders can have the wobble, which is unfortunate with the spider. Thank you for my videos. This week I have paired my ball pythons. Nice, for the first time ever. If you mix the butter ghost with the pinstripe, what kind of hatchlings will come out? So the butter ghost, so the butter is essentially the same thing as the lesser, which is in the blue-eyed leucistic complex. The ghost is recessive, and you mix it with the pinstripe, you would actually get, everything would be het ghost because the ghost is recessive. So you would get butters, you would get pinstripes, you would get butter pinstripes, and you would get normals, and all of them would be het ghost for all those. Let's see. All right, Bobby. I think there's a lot of questions back there I kind of missed because I kind of jumped ahead. I lost my spot back here. Let's see. I'm going to go back just a little bit, see if I can catch some of the stuff back in the back. Do I have an ultrasound? I do have an ultrasound, and I don't use it a lot anymore. As a matter of fact, I was doing some ultrasound videos, and it seemed like my ultrasound videos just did not have that many views, which is kind of interesting. I thought it was interesting taking my ultrasound and looking at the eggs inside of my snakes. And usually I only use it like towards the end of the season to where, pretty much ending the season. I want to know if some of the females are going to lay or not. And I go through all my females, kind of like a cleanup at the end of the year with the ultrasound to see if any are going to lay. And usually what I do is like kind of towards the end of the season when I'm getting eggs, I look through every single female tub, usually twice a day, kind of hunting for eggs through my collection instead of, looking at the follicles or like the pre-lay shed or something like that. And then right at the end, I'll kind of go through with my ultrasound just to kind of clean it up. If I had $5,000 to spend on a ball python project, what would I get? That is a good question. $5,000. I would probably get some really high-end freeway combinations. That's probably what I get. Or I'd get something like maybe the confusion gene. I've been thinking about getting into something like that with the confusion, the acid, or the static. Or maybe I'll do like a het monsoon or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. What are the top recessive morphs you would like to be able to ID and to genotype to ID heterozygous? That is a good question. So if I was able to figure out if it was het for a certain gene, I don't know if you had some kind of a quick test where you could just do like a mouth swab and you can see if it's het pied or het clown. that would be kind of cool. I'd say probably the clowns, the pieds, and the albinos would probably be up on the list, which would be pretty awesome. All right, so I'm going to go down to some of the newer comments here. Are you selling on Morphmarket? Yes, I am selling on Morphmarket. I actually have just my last few snakes over there, just my last few hatchlings. If you actually go over to Morphmarket and check it out. Have you seen the Pixel? I have not seen the Pixel. What do you think about blood pythons? I think they're pretty awesome, but I probably wouldn't get one. There's so many other snakes that, I try to kind of stick with ball pythons. So every time I get a snake, I can actually breed it with everything else that I have in my collection. Hey Chris, I have two male Mojave GHI Firefly Orange Dream and a scaleless head lesser Firefly. Females are black pastel inchi. Wow. Super blast killer bee import and a normal. Which 3 for each male? Keep in mind that when you're breeding ball pythons, it changes every year. So a lot of times you'll get like 6 snakes and you're like, all right, which snakes should I breed together? But keep in mind that this year, whatever you breed this year, you can always switch it up the next year and then the next year. So it doesn't really matter what you're pairing in the first year, because the next year you can switch everything up and then breed them back together again. And then it's kind of interesting once you get a few years down the road and you're like, all right, I already paired these together and I got the best of the best. I'm not going to pair those. I'm going to pair it with something else. What do you think about the blue-eyed Lucy's bred to normals? So the blue-eyed Lucy, there's actually there's like 40 different ways to actually make a blue-eyed leucistic. And as a matter of fact, the bamboo, so Bobby here around my neck is actually in the blue-eyed leucistic complex. And if you bred 2 bamboos together, you would get a blue-eyed leucistic super bamboo. And you can actually take that and breed it to a normal and get all bamboos. That would be probably the best blue-eyed leucistic combination that I would actually do here in my collection. As a matter of fact, I actually have a lesser bamboo, which is all white. Half the offspring will come out as bamboo, half as lesser. So they can be really powerful breeders. But kind of the challenging part is sometimes you don't know what genes are in your blue-eyed leucistic. Some people will breed 2 random blue-eyed leucistics together, and they won't really know what genes are in the mix. So if you actually took like a bamboo lesser and bred it with like a Mojave Phantom or something like that, or like if you actually had 2 of them that were all white snakes. Sometimes you can actually tell because you get like the purple passions and the mystic potions. But if you had like 2 white snakes that had completely different genes, and you had a possibility of 4 different genes a lot of times you can't tell what's what. And a lot of people actually buy a blue-eyed leucistic and they don't know exactly what the genes are until they breed it. So sometimes if you actually take a blue-eyed leucistic, bred it to a normal, you can actually be surprised as far as what you actually get. Let's see. All right, let's see. All right, so I'm going to go back a little bit in the history. Oh, I think I found where I was before I kind of skipped ahead. All right, so yeah, I think I missed a whole bunch of comments way back there, and I skipped ahead. It's kind of weird. Sometimes my comments will like jump. Let's see. So, what is my favorite holdback this year? That is a good question. As a matter of fact, let me show you this one. This is a pretty cool. This is the one that. This is one of my cooler holdbacks here. I don't know how well you can see this because of this live stream. It's kind of, I don't know what the quality is. I have a really bad internet connection, but this is one of my favorite holdbacks from this year. This is actually Bobby's grandson. This actually came from one of Bobby's kids that I bred. This is actually a bamboo. It's got bamboo in it, and it also has pastel, pinstripe, and calico. Look at the crazy sides on that snake. That is a really wild looking snake. As a matter of fact, I've actually made some bamboo pastel pinstripes, and it almost looks like a metallic gold color on the top. And then you add the calico on the side, and it really gives you this kind of a checkered pattern on the side of the snake. Really awesome. Really awesome. One of my holdbacks. And this is actually a male too. So if I breed this to something else, I'll get bamboos, pastels, pinstripes, and calicos. And I can actually breed this to a normal and get a whole bunch of really cool combinations. That is a really awesome snake right there. And that guy's name is Pookie. That one, Pookie. Just kind of randomly drew the name out of the hat. I don't know what Bobby's doing here. What are you doing? Kind of crawling all over the place. Ugh. Just kind of keeps going behind my back. I'm always afraid I'm going to squash him between my back and the chair. All right, so I'm going to go down to some of these lower comments down here. Let's see. What do you think would happen if you want for a double visual for axanthic and black axanthic? That would be kind of interesting, breeding axanthic to black axanthic. Although the double visual, I don't know exactly what it would look like. It would probably look close to, I would imagine it would look close to a black axanthic because it looks, I'd say it might dominate the combination. So it might be hard to actually tell if you get the double visual on that combination. How long can eggs be out of the incubator for control, and how much time do I have to take them from the female and put them inside the incubator? So that is a good question. As a matter of fact, I actually had some eggs that the female laid, and I missed them for, I think it was 2 or 3 days by the time I actually found those eggs. I just kind of, I can't remember what I was doing. I went out of town or something. I was breeding snakes, and I went out of town for 2 or 3 days, came back and found a female on some eggs. I'm pretty sure they were 2 or 3 days old. And the problem is if she lays eggs and they're stuck together, most of the times you can't separate them. They get really stuck together, and it's pretty much impossible. So you almost need like a really big incubator box that will hold them all clumped together. But as far as the timing, I don't think you really have a problem as far as worrying about them not developing like you would in some of your other eggs, like chicken eggs or something like that. I don't think it really matters. I think you'd be fine as far as the timing, getting them from the female into the incubator. Even a couple days seems like it's okay. Let's see. Best genes to darken things up. That is a good question. So the darkest of the dark genes, let's see. I have a lot of pastel and want to darken things up. So the darkest of the dark is the blackhead. So the blackhead's pretty much the darkest. You can also do like black pastel or cinnamon, which are actually allelic. You can also do the GHI is a dark gene. The Phantom really darkens things up. The Phantom's kind of interesting. It's actually in the blue-eyed leucistic. I've seen a lot of Phantom combos that really acts as a dark gene, which is pretty cool. How many possibilities would you get from a killer bee crossed with a super blast GHI? So the killer bee is a super pastel spider, and the super blast is a super pastel pinstripe GHI. So both of them are super pastels, so you'd actually get all super pastels, and then some of them would be spiders, some of them would be pinstripes, some of them would be GHIs, some of them would be spider pinstripes, some would be spider GHIs, some of them would be GHI spiders, some would be spiders, pinstripes, GHIs, and you'd also get normals. No, well, that wouldn't be normal, it would just be a super pastel. So those are all the combinations that you'd actually get. Everything would be super pastel. That would be a pretty awesome breeding right there. So I tried to breed my 500-gram pewter pied this November. So if it's a male, 500 grams is kind of on the edge. I've actually bred some 500 grams males before, and what I'd probably do, this is actually it's a pewter pied. So depending on what you're breeding it to, probably what I would do is if you had another male, I'd probably try to breed that and then follow up with like a cleanup male. So you can actually clean up with another male, like especially if you had like a super in there with another male. That way you can tell for sure. For example, if you had another male that was a super pastel with some other genes, you could tell which pairing it actually came from if it was pastel. Of course, with the pewter is actually the cinnamon in the pastel. So, well, with my experience with 500 grams, it's like maybe a 50-50 chance that that snake is going to breed. Personally, I probably wouldn't breed a 500 gram. You know, you can actually try it, but I'd probably follow up and maybe do a cleanup with another male just to make sure you actually get some eggs from that. Let's see. My ball python got out. How do I find it? That is a good question. I actually had one snake escape and I never found it. But I would probably check kind of everything low. A lot of times they like to crawl up under like water heaters or anything warm like that. Sometimes they'll snuggle up like against a baseboard heater or a water heater. You just have to kind of keep checking around. Hopefully they don't go down like a heater vent. That would be a disaster if they got in the heating system. What happened after the first live streams? Where did I go? I actually lost my voice after the first 3 live streams and just had to take a break. Couldn't really do more than 3 12-hour live streams in a row. Pretty much gave up after that. All right, Bobby, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let's see. What happens when you breed a banana male maker to a banana female maker? That's a good question. You breed a male maker to a female maker, it's pretty much impossible because the male makers and female makers are only with the males. So you really can't breed 2 males together. So you actually need a male and a female, and then the female is not a male maker or a female maker. So you have to choose one or the other and breed it to a female. What's your opinion on the Mojave? The Mojave is pretty awesome. The cool thing about the Mojave is you can actually make the Mojave Lessers or the Super Mojaves, which are really white. You can also make the Purple Passions or the Mystic Potions with the Mojave, which is pretty awesome. Which ball python would you breed a Mojave Russo to? That is a good question. So Mojave Russo is a blue-eyed leucistic. You could actually, I would probably breed it to another blue-eyed leucistic, probably something with lesser in it, so you can get the lesser Mojaves, which would be, it can get a little bit confusing if you had another blue-eyed leucistic with lesser and another gene in the blue-eyed leucistic. It could get a little bit confusing, unless you did like, maybe if you did like a lesser Mystic or a lesser Phantom, you could actually pick out like the Purple Passions or the Mystic Potions with the Mojave, so it wouldn't get too confusing. Let's see. What do you think about the monsoon? I would definitely love to have one. If you find someone giving one away, let me know. I would definitely. I really can't afford the monsoon. I think they're still like $10,000 or something crazy like that. Maybe I would consider getting something like a het monsoon. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. I want to go back just a little bit here. Let's see. Let's see. Does the super banana male cancel out the banana female in terms of making males non-female makers? Let's see. Super banana male. So sometimes it can get pretty confusing with the super the male makers and the female makers. This is kind of a tough one. I'll have to think about this. So you have a super banana male. So a super banana male would actually produce all bananas. Would it cancel out the banana female in terms of making males and non-female makers? So I'm not exactly sure about the super bananas. If you'd actually have a super banana male, if you could actually have a male maker, I would think you'd probably get half males and half females with a super banana male, but I'm not exactly sure on that one. You'd have to double check on that one. Let's see. How long after I begin pairing would you suggest I watch for ovulation? That's a good question. So usually after you start pairing your ball pythons, usually you cycle your males through your females for several months, and you get to the point where I'd say maybe 5 months, 4 or 5 months, usually your first females will start ovulating. Usually when I see my first female ovulate, I'll stop pairing my males and my females at that point and pretty much just separate everything. So I'd say usually it's several months after you start pairing. Let's see. I have a baby blue-eyed leucistic that is Mojave Leicester, but dad is GHI and mom had pastel. Awesome. Let's see. What other animals, purebreds, are considered the pinnacle to aim for when breeding? Why are multiple genes considered better with ball pythons? So it's kind of interesting if you compare ball pythons with other animals. So for example, I actually took like my my Rhodesian Ridgeback dog, which is a purebred AKC purebred AKC Rhodesian Ridgeback dog. I bred it to my purebred Saint Bernard male and got some crosses. I actually kept one of them. I have one of those. The problem with other animals is you really can't take that crossbreed, breed it to something else, and get out the Saint Bernard as a pure dog or the Rhodesian Ridgeback. So you're stuck with this crossbreed. And with ball pythons, it's better because you can actually make a multi-gene animal, breed it to something else, and get all those genes out in the pure form, which is pretty much unlike any other animal that I've actually seen. I think that is really the power of ball pythons compared to any other animals. Yes, I'm back to live streaming, but I'm not going to do a marathon. I was thinking maybe, I don't know, I've been going, how long have I been going now? I've been going an hour and a half. I don't know how long we're going to, maybe just a couple hours. Maybe another half hour on the live stream. I'm not gonna do a marathon like I did before. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Just got my first ball python, Mojave female. What would you recommend I do? So if you're actually breeding it, the Mojave. So if you get your first ball python female, it could be that you actually have a hatchling. If you actually bought it as a hatchling, it takes usually 2 to 3 years before you can actually breed that. So probably what I would do is I would sit on that female for maybe a year or two before you actually buy a male to pair with it, just kind of get it up to size. Otherwise, you're pretty much feeding the male and the female. You don't really need to feed the male for 3 years too. That doesn't really need to be that big. So I'd probably do is wait a year and then consider getting a male. As a matter of fact, if I actually had just the Mojave, I would probably do like a Mojave GHI, which is a really cool combination. Or I would do like the Mojave Lesser, which is pretty much considered to be the ultimate blue-eyed leucistic. You can make the all-white snake with the blue eyes. So I put a live rat in with my pastel spot nose, and she took it and ate it while still in the little tree. She loves to hang out. So that's kind of interesting. She took it and ate it while still in a tree. Usually with ball pythons, usually they eat on the ground. They usually don't eat in a tree. I'd say that's kind of unusual. What directions am I going in 3 to 10 years? That is a good question. I know kind of one of the next projects that I want to get into is either the acid, the static, or the confusion. I might buy into some hets like the monsoon or something like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. Maybe kind of building up my visual desert ghosts, maybe getting more into some of the clowns and stuff like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking of in the next 3 to 10 years. What do I recommend for enclosures for a small collection on a budget? I've actually seen some people take like the plastic totes with the locking lids on the sides. A lot of people drill holes or take like a, I guess, what do you call those? Like one of those soldering irons. They'll heat it up and they'll kind of poke holes in the sides of plasticware. And I've actually seen some people start that way. As a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of YouTubers, they still do that after a few years. They just have the plastic totes. Seems like it's pretty popular over in the UK. A lot of people do that. Let's see. Yeah, the Mojave GHI or lesser. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right, let's see. Want to say thank you for the time and the information. Yeah. Glad my videos are helping out. Kind of set up my channel as an encyclopedia of ball pythons, so I'm glad it's helping some people out. Is this going to be a regular thing, Chris, on the live chat? So that is a good question. So I'm actually thinking maybe of doing a live stream Sunday afternoons just for a couple hours. I probably won't do the 12-hour marathon. I was actually thinking I could actually do the live stream marathon to pay for the Harley. That was kind of a bad idea. By the way, I actually did buy that Harley. I'm just waiting on shipping. Didn't pay for it all with the live stream money, but I actually did buy it, which is pretty cool. Let's see. How do you know when your females are ready to breed besides having the proper weight? So, let's see. I was actually just looking at this. I was looking at some other comments. So how do you know when your females are ready to breed? So what I do is I pretty just much look at the body condition and the weight of the female. If the female is over 1,500 grams and it's eating really good, and it has a really good body condition, I'll definitely go ahead and pair it up. If it's a really long fast, I usually won't pair it up. And you can actually have an older female that's really long and skinny that can weigh 1,500 or 2,000 grams. I probably wouldn't pair that one up, even though it weighs over 1,500. If it's really long and skinny, I'd definitely get some weight on it first. Did I pay off the bike? Yes, I did pay off the bike. I actually raised about $1,000 on Super Chat, which is pretty awesome. Over 36 hours of live streaming. That was crazy. I don't know whoever came up with that idea, trying to pay for a Harley with a live stream Super Chat. That wasn't a very good idea, I don't think. That was kind of crazy. Am I a sports guy? Not really. I don't really follow sports. I used to play some baseball back in school. Did a little bit of like flag football and stuff like that. I was into track, did a lot of like middle distance track as far as stuff I used to do as far as, sports, but not really. Did some basketball too when I was in the military, but I don't really watch like professional sports teams or anything like that. Let's see. I have a Mojave Calico Het Pied male looking to get a female. What would you recommend? So Mojave Calico Het Pied, I would definitely go for another Het Pied or a Pied. Mojave, it really depends on what you're going for. So if you actually use the Mojave for like a blue-eyed leucistic, if you actually get the blue-eyed leucistic and the Pied, you really couldn't tell if it was the blue-eyed leucistic and the Pied at the same time. So probably what I would do is do one or the other. I would do either the Pied or the blue-eyed leucistic so it doesn't get too confusing. How are things going with the retics? They're doing good. Not sure if they're actually going to breed this year. I paired them up a couple months ago, and it looks like they actually locked once this year. So I'm actually hoping to get some eggs, which would be pretty awesome. What was your MOS in the military? Bringing back the military days. I was actually 11 Hotel. I was actually an anti-tank gunner back in the military. I went in the military, kind of dates myself. I actually signed up in the military back in 1984 is when I went into the military, before computers, before cell phones and everything else, before any electronics. That was a long time ago. Bobby is chilling, just kind of chilling around my neck. It's pretty awesome. So this is off topic. Just got a baby corn snake from my uncle. It's a wild type. Nice. His name is Neku Deku. Awesome. Do I have any female bamboos for sale? So I have one. Actually have one bamboo combo that is a bamboo calico possible pastel that is really struggling. I've been trying to assist feed it on and on. I think I tried to assist feed like 10 times, and I've only actually gotten it to eat twice. And as a matter of fact, it ate once last week, and then I tried to assist feed just yesterday, and it absolutely will not, for some reason. Usually bamboos are really good about that. You never really have to assist feed one. So if I can actually get the snake on food, I actually have a bamboo calico. I don't know if it's a male or a female, but that thing is just struggling and lagging behind. It's really frustrating on that one. Never really had this much problem with any snake assist feeding, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much the only bamboo that I'm going to have for sale for this year. I pretty much sold all my other bamboo stuff. So let's see. I have an adult male that I bought as a cinnamon leopard. And he has het pied markers. But I don't know if the markers are just influenced by the two morphs. So that is a good question. So usually the het pied markers, usually you can only see them on normals without any other genes in the mix. Sometimes I've actually seen them on pastels, but with a cinnamon leopard, I don't know if you can actually see het pied markers on the cinnamon leopard. I'd say maybe it could be due to the influence of the leopard actually giving you kind of a pseudo het pied markers. I say it's probably not 100% guaranteed as far as looking at het pied markers on something like that. Freeway or highway, and have you ever seen them mixed? As a matter of fact, I would probably go, if I had the choice between freeway and highway, I would definitely go with the freeways. It seems like the freeways are brighter and seems like it has a little more high contrast, although I've seen some really amazing highways, and I have actually seen them mixed. Someone actually took a freeway, bred it to a highway, and got an asphalt gravel. I actually saw one over on Morphmarket. I think they call that the pavement, which is the asphalt and the gravel together. Do I have any banana snakes? I actually have some coral glows for sale over on Morphmarket right now. I have some coral glows, and as a matter of fact, I actually just bought a banana last year, so I have coral glows and bananas that I'll be breeding. The bananas should be big enough this year to actually breed for the first time, which would be pretty cool. I tried to breed them last year at 400 grams, which was a mistake. I should have used like a cleanup male behind that banana. It's actually a banana inchy clown. It's a visual clown. So pretty excited for actually breeding that to some of my other stuff. Just getting into ball pythons. I have 4 now, 2 males, 2 females. I bought a 2019 female bumble belly from Nerd. That's awesome. So the bumble belly is a pastel spider yellow belly. Pretty awesome. All right, let's see. Have I seen the Barney ball python? I have not seen the Barney. Hey, from Scotland, what is going on? That is pretty amazing from Scotland. That's another reason I'm doing kind of like in the mid-afternoon, because a lot of people around the world. As a matter of fact, I was actually, yeah, it's not another 12-hour live stream. Actually, I think I'm just going to do 2 hours, so maybe another 18 minutes, and I'm going to call it good. Definitely not going to do a 2-hour live stream. I had this crazy idea. I was going to do the 12-hour live streams and try to pay for the Harley Davidson with my super chat, and I got 3 days into it, and I lost my voice. And so I decided, yeah, I think I'm going to have to kind of limit my live streams. I'm thinking maybe doing Sunday live streams just for a couple hours every Sunday, which would be kind of cool to kind of change things up a little bit. From Slovenia. Nice. Awesome. It's 10 past 10. Yeah, there's crazy times I love. As a matter of fact, it seemed like when I was getting closer to midnight, I was getting super chats from all over the world. People are just like waking up and they give me like 50,000 of some foreign currency and I translate it and it would come out to be like 52 cents or something like that. It's kind of crazy. I thought, all this super chat coming in and all this different currency and you never know how much you have unless you actually come over and convert it with the currency calculator. And it was happening like right around midnight in a lot of my 12-hour live streams. It was kind of crazy. Let's see. Have you done a hurricane ball python video? I don't think I have done the hurricane yet, which is kind of interesting. Hey, from Norway, what is going on from Norway? Awesome. Can I get out a coral glow, please? I can get out a coral glow, as a matter of fact, I have one right over here. This is Gingy. Gingy's actually for sale over on Morphmarket. I actually just put all my coral glows and coral glow pinstripes and everything over there. That is, I don't know how well it's going to come through on my really bad quality live stream. I think my upload speed is like 1 gigabit per second or something crazy like that. But these are really good looking snake. It's funny because every single year I hatch out these from my male maker coral glow, and this year every single coral glow that I hatched out, every single one was a male. If I would actually got a female, I definitely would have been holding a female buck. I definitely want a female. Yeah, but so far every single coral glow that I've ever produced has always been a male. And of course that's from my male maker coral glow. How old is my snake? Well, this snake around my neck, this is Bobby. He's 7 years old. That coral glow that I just showed you, that one is, I'd say that one is maybe 2 months old or 3 months old or something like that. That was a hatchling. Hey sir, can you kiss your snake a time? And I'm new here. Well, I wouldn't really recommend kissing a snake. So snakes actually, some people say that snakes can actually have salmonella, which I don't know if that's actually true. I've actually seen some people kissing snakes and eating sheds and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, I would not recommend kissing your snake just because you can actually potentially, I don't want to kind of spread that habit around to other people, especially with kids. It can be kind of dangerous, like handling chickens or snakes or anything like that. You really want to be careful as far as doing stuff like that. Have I ever taken a bite from Bobby? No, I have not taken a bite from Bobby. I actually got my hand caught in his mouth once. I think he was yawning and I got my hand caught. It kind of ripped open my hand, which kind of freaked me out. It just happened like maybe about 3 weeks ago, which is kind of weird. Have I ever thought about the Sunset Project? Someday I would like to get into the Sunset Project. Let's see. Google the Barney. I don't know what the Barney ball python is. Let's see. Is Lucy's head big enough to pet like a dog? Lucy is really big. You could probably pet her head like a dog. Let's see. So what happens if you breed a male maker coral glow and a female maker coral glow? Technically, you can't because male makers and female makers are both males and you can't breed them together. Is Bobby my oldest? No, Bobby is not my oldest. I think my oldest is, 12 years old, and Bobby is 7. So he's definitely one of my biggest. He's pretty big. Although, well, I actually have some bigger ones. I think my biggest one's almost twice as big as Bobby. So he's pretty big, but not really that big. Let's see. So what would I want to do with the sunset? That is a good question. So the sunset, I actually did a video on the sunset ball python, and it's really visually dominant. From what I've seen, I'd say it's up there, probably close to the champagne as far as visual dominance. Probably what I would do is I would mix it with, the cool thing about the champagne is you can actually do like a super cinnamon champagne to make the gray matter. So I was always wondering what would happen if you actually made a super cinnamon sunset, which would be kind of interesting to kind of play around with that project. Or you can actually do like a sunset pied, which I don't know if anyone's actually done the sunset pie, but that'd be a pretty cool project. Or you could do like an axanthic sunset. That'd be kind of crazy. So let's see. What got me interested in ball pythons? That is a good question. So the interesting thing is I was working as a chemist in a laboratory, and I was actually in the lunchroom, and some random person walked up to me and started talking snakes. And that is the problem about talking snakes, because they can kind of get you into the whole industry. And it's kind of funny, on their phone, they actually showed me a scaleless head ball python. This is actually the beginning of the scaleless head craze, and it actually sold for $45,000 for the scaleless head, and it sold like just a couple days after it posted. I started watching Morphmarket, the first time I even knew about ball pythons or Morphmarket, and I could not believe that snakes could sell for so much money. It was kind of crazy, and that's kind of what got me interested in the ball python hobby. I don't know what Bobby's doing here. Crazy snake. Oh, all right, Bobby. He's getting a little squirrely. All right, so we're just going to go for another 11 minutes. That'll be a 2-hour live stream. So that'll be pretty good. I think I'm going to just do live streams just a couple hours maybe on Sundays, which would be kind of cool. Instead of the videos at night, we'll just do a live stream, and I'll kind of answer some questions. So anyways, that's kind of what got me into ball pythons. And the funny thing is, after I kind of discovered what was going on in the whole snake industry, I actually discovered some videos from, I don't know if you've ever seen the old Animal Bite shows. I actually saw some of those about breeding snakes. It was Brian Barczyk and his whole facility. And as a matter of fact, when I started, I actually didn't start in ball pythons. I started with a bunch of random snakes. Got corn snakes and king snakes and some Australian Woma pythons. And then I really figured out kind of what was going on with the ball python industry with all the different genes. I pretty much transitioned overall just to ball pythons. Can you show the snake face? Yeah, I can show the snake face. All right, Bobby. Oh, Bobby is like, I think Bobby's ready to go back in his tub. He's not used to being, usually after a couple hours, I put him back in the tub. I don't know if I can actually get him out in front of the camera. That is Bobby. Let's see. I am breeding my female banana this year with my lesser, and her male offspring should be female makers. Let's see. No, so if you're breeding a female banana with your lesser, so females will actually, so females are not male makers or female makers. If you actually have a female banana, it'll produce, half the offspring will be bananas, and half of those bananas will be males, half will be females. So all the females that it produces will not be male makers or female makers, because it's only associated with the males. But the male, since it's coming from a female, the males will all be female makers, which gets a little bit confusing with the male makers and the female makers. All right. Yeah, I wouldn't spam the chat because yeah, you might get banned from the channel by the YouTube. It's kind of funny on this. I actually had some comments that were deleted from the YouTube moderators. They're really cracking down. A lot of people, when they do live streams, a lot of people will actually hire a moderator, and they'll actually ban people from the chat from like spamming and stuff like that. And I haven't really been doing that at all. It seems like the YouTube moderators are actually coming in on my live stream and deleting a lot of comments. It's like I see some comments pop up and it's like they disappear. It's like this comment's been deleted by the YouTube moderator team, which I've never seen before. So you gotta have to be careful. If you actually want to keep commenting, you definitely want to watch what you say and don't spam over here on the channel. It's pretty much seems like it's out of my control. So, all right, so we're down to 8 more minutes on the live stream. We'll come down to the end here. All right. Let's see. Venomous. No, I would not be doing venomous. Is there a way if you can tell if your ball python will get big or not? Really, it depends on how much you feed them. The more you feed a ball python, the bigger they get. How often do you see the vet? Usually only see the vet if my snake gets sick. So it's pretty much like an on-call thing. I don't know anything about snakes. I want to ask, is your snake poisonous? The snake is not venomous around my neck. This is Bobby, my bamboo ball python. Definitely not venomous, although it kind of looks like almost like one of the venomous. I've actually seen some like gaboon vipers or something like that that kind of look similar. How is Lucky doing? Lucky, I actually sold Lucky. Lucky, as a matter of fact, Lucky ate like 15 meals. It was still super skinny. I actually sold Lucky and used the money to pay for my Harley Davidson. So that's what happened to Lucky. I actually had to free up some money to pay for my bike. So that's where it came from. Let's see. Can you please show pasta? Pasta. Which one's pasta? Pasta. Yeah, some of these snakes, I'm not sure. This is pasta. Look at how beautiful pasta is. Really beautiful lemon blast. This is a pastel pinstripe. I think it's possible. Yeah, possible het desert ghost. Kind of the interesting thing about this one is it has a really jumbled up pattern. It almost seems like there's something else in there with the pastel and the pinstripe. Really crazy, really super bright lemon blast too. If you can actually, I don't know how you can actually see it on this really bad live stream connection that I have here at the house. This one's a really awesome snake though. This one may have been the one. Let's see. Not sure if I sold this one or not. I have to look over there. I sold so many in the last few days that have been going like crazy. I've been posting them over there and they've all been selling really quick. So I have to look through my paperwork to see which ones I have left. I don't think I have many left over there that are actually for sale still. Yeah, definitely want to buy some of my snakes. You definitely should go over to Morphmarket. I had the very last snakes of the year posted on Morphmarket over there. I have some coral glows and some lemon blasts. I think I have calico over there. Just a handful of snakes. Let's see. I watch your vids more than anyone else's. Yeah, I try to explain everything. It's kind of funny when I was actually going through all the videos and making them. A lot of people complain because it's almost like when I'm making all the morph videos, it's almost like reading through an encyclopedia, which is kind of tough to actually, get people to watch every single video as you're making them. But looking back as a reference, it seems like it's a lot more helpful. Kind of my thought is if you actually go to a reptile show and buy a snake, no matter what it is, what combination or what gene it is, that I actually have a video on that gene or combination. And it took me a while, actually. I think I have like 950 some videos, coming up on almost 1,000 videos on YouTube, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. The Barney is a morph made by BBH. Huh. Let's see. You've helped me with decisions on decisions on the projects. Yes. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the cheetah? I'm not sure exactly what the cheetah is. I used to know. I can't remember what genes are in the cheetah. It's one of the ones you stumped me on that one. The cheetah. I'll have to look that one up. As a matter of fact, I was looking at that just the other day. I can't remember what jeans are in. Let's see. Chris, how are you? I have a question. My baby ball python just threw up a fur ball. Just fur. So that is sounds like a regurgitation. So probably on something like that, I would probably wait at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before I'd feed it again. So you have to really be careful, especially if it's a baby ball python. You may have fed a meal that is a little bit too big, or maybe you fed too many meals in a row, or maybe you don't have the appropriate hot spot. So I definitely make sure that you have like a 90-degree hot spot, that you're not feeding your ball python and it's sitting on a cold spot, or like an ambient temperature that's too much below 80 degrees. But sometimes it can be pretty traumatic for hatchlings. I found usually when they throw up, there's a reason behind it, especially for baby ball pythons. Usually it's too big of a rodent or too many rodents at the same time. Kind of less frequently, not an appropriate hotspot. Let's see. There was a question about is an albino breeder female over 2,200 grams worth 250? I would say definitely 2,200. Yeah, I'd say that is definitely a good price. Usually you can sell albino hatchlings for like 250 a piece, which is pretty awesome. I'd say that's a really good price. You could probably get double that at least. An albino breeder female, you could probably get anywhere, I'd say maybe from 500 to 800 for a snake like that, especially if it's ready to breed. Have your shipping sales resumed? Yes, I have been shipping. Almost shipped out all my hatchlings for this year. Just have a few more over on Morphmarket. As a matter of fact, I can only ship pretty much on Tuesday or Wednesdays. They have a lot of restrictions. I can't ship to areas that have the hurricanes. A lot of places have restrictions on the protests. I can only ship from a FedEx ship center to a FedEx ship center. So there's a lot of restrictions, but I definitely can ship. I pretty much ship on Tuesdays. And lately I've been shipping, as a matter of fact, last Tuesday, I think I shipped out like 9 snakes or something like that. It's been really crazy. I've been shipping out so many snakes. All right, let's see. Well, let's see. What would you say to someone who wanted to start breeding ball pythons? Best advice, I'd say do your research first as far as the husbandry and the care of ball pythons. Probably what I would do is I would look, kind of at the setups, the different setups and the enclosures and the substrates and the temperatures and the humidity and all of that. And I'd probably just start with like one female ball python and just kind of work with that one, see if you can get it eating. Sometimes, especially if you buy a young hatchling ball python, sometimes it'll only take like live mouse hoppers. Sometimes that can be kind of problematic. But if you're breeding ball pythons, a lot of times you have to breed mice or find a supply of live mice to actually feed those hatchlings. It can get kind of complicated once you get into it. But I'd say definitely do your research first. So we're past 2 hours. I'm just going to go just a couple more minutes. So when will your next live stream be? I was thinking of doing just a couple hour live streams on Sunday afternoons, just kind of randomly in the afternoons. As a matter of fact, I was going to start at noon today. I think I started at like 1:30 or something like that. Probably just do a couple hour live streams randomly here and there. So that is pretty much. Have you ever thought of expanding your operation to a small warehouse? So I'm not exactly sure if I want to get really big. So kind of my thoughts is I've been considering whether I really want to expand my collection or if I want to kind of what I'm thinking right now is I'm thinking of maybe downsizing, selling a lot of what I have, and then maybe getting into some really high-end stuff, keeping a really small collection with like some monsoons or some sunsets or some, some of the really high-end genes or something like that. Just keep it a smaller collection with more high-end snakes that'll bring in a lot more money. Hey, got a super chat. All right, thank you. Yeah, I didn't do very good on my super chat. I think we're only up to like $13 on the super chats today versus, all the super chats that we got in the back. But I think, now that I've been kind of playing around with it, I've seen a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll expand their operation. They'll have a really big warehouse and they'll still have really inexpensive genes And a lot of people really struggle with a big operation without a lot of, you know, especially if you have a lot of really kind of low to mid range snakes and you're trying to breed and make money and pay employees and rent and heat and air conditioning and everything else on top of what else you're also making. So I'm not sure exactly what direction I'm going to go. You know, I'm kind of like at a transition point where I don't really want to expand too much, but I want to keep, you know, increasing the quality of my snakes here in my collection. So let's see, that is pretty much it. Yeah, thank you for everything, Trashman0131. I think I'm going to call it for the live stream at 2 hours and 2 minutes, 47 seconds. So that is pretty much it. We still have 64 people on, and we have 67 thumbs up, made a total of $13 in the super chats. All right. Hey, got another super chat right at the end. Thank you, Scott Wentworth. All right, so you guys are making me want to stay on a little bit longer here. All right. Sorry, joined at the end. Thanks. All right, amazing content, man. Thank you so much. You just joined. Oh, you know, it's funny. I was doing those 12-hour live streams, and I actually did my very first 12-hour live stream. And it's like right at the end, someone's like, oh, someone actually made a comment. And as soon as I finished, they're like, oh man, I missed it. It's like, how could you miss a 12-hour live stream? That was kind of crazy. All right, so that is pretty much it. I'm just going to call it here. I will see you in the video tomorrow, and then I'll see you on the live stream next Sunday, sometime in the afternoon. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.